Welcome to the Proper Cap, Madcap Coffee Podcast.
Proper Cap.
I like that. Yes. Co-hosts Trevor, Josiah. We're excited to have owners, founders, hustle,
entrepreneurs,
creatives. Erik and Layah, can you all introduce yourselves for us?
Yes, we can. Thank you for having us, Layah. Yes. Go right ahead.
I am Layah Lachey, and I have been at Carbon since the start, which is going on. We're celebrating 10 years this year. Also wife, mom, just a creative in general.
Yes. Yeah. And I am her other half, Erik Lachey, founder of Carbon Stories. Like she said, she was the first on the team. Still here, tried and true. I think it was April of 2015 that we started. So next month we'll make the official 10 years. But yeah, creatives definitely is the best way to describe just because of all of our interests. And I think it's what we bring to each different industry that we might have to tell a story for. So creatives overall. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks for that introduction. We always like to start with we call it the tasty pregame. So we've got a tasty pregame going on here.
Yeah.
And Adam, you want to kick this off?
I mean, I can get us started. Y'all have something to add to it. So what we're drinking is a coffee from the Rodriguez family in El Salvador. This is their Elefante variety. So Elefante named after the size of cherries, like massive, very juicy coffee cherries. But this isn't technically our version of it. Yeah, we did not roast this coffee.
Erik knows all about this.
Got to see the room it was roasted in. Yeah. The room
we recently went to El Salvador and we saw some magic happen. We had some experiences. This is Alchemia.
I never said the word. I didn't know
how. Alchemia coffee. Recently in a controversial list of the 100 world's best coffee shops.
One on the top, right?
14th in the world. Wow. It was a cool cafe experience.
Would you say it was one of your best cafe experiences?
It was up there.
I'll say I saw a photo though of Erik sitting at the bar, and your smile.
He took it up a notch. He put it up.
It's one of the best in the world.
So I had gone to another one, Cafe Mimamu, that was also on that list, and I will say both are doing a good job at making a sit-down experience for those who value that. Because the other thing is what kind of mile markers are we talking about? Is it consistency? Is it quality of coffee? Is it the fanfare? But they both do a good job, I think, and I'm sure some more on that list do a kind of experience. But what I did like about this one was that they educated, at least the one that I suggested, had educated on things that if I sat through that 5 years ago, I would have known then what I know now about coffee, what took me 5 years. Part of it being that I'm a coffee professional adjacent, I just capture for coffee professionals versus actually being in the game. So I think they did a good job at educating. They used the whole cherry, seed, mucilage, everything.
Okay, they had props.
They
had props for each course.
It was really cool. But can it be done consistently? I don't know. I mean, we were talking to the guy. They even have to make sure they're scheduling when they're traveling to make sure they can perform those different things.
Interesting.
So it's definitely interesting. How do you guys think about this roast? Do they do it similar to Madcap?
This one, it feels like it's a little bit more developed than how we typically roast for Elefante. I find Elefante, when it's at its best, is very delicate. There's nice florality and melons and this is a little bit more developed, I would say.
Yeah, ours would be a little lighter and brighter. And the floral, you don't really get the floral in this one, but you can still taste that brightness in there, but it's a lot more chocolate up front. You can read the flavor descriptors are all in Spanish, but you got some mango in there and some tropical fruit and floral. A little bit of those fruit notes.
Miel. They've got a little.
The packaging is interesting, right? The glass bottle. Yeah, it fits the vibe of the spot.
Did it make a noise when you opened it? Did it
It didn't. It didn't.
Which,
yeah.
That's cool.
Who knows? It was cool. Yeah.
It's always fun to try same coffee from different roasters and kind of see
interpretations.
Yeah. And especially they roasted it at origin. That's very special too.
In the same atmosphere. air molecules. I was freaking out because I don't think they realized who was sitting at the bar countertop with us. Because I'm like, do they know that's Gloria?
Yeah, we brought the producer
Wow.
to
That's
the
cool.
spot.
And they knew, like they were talking to her, but I'm sure maybe she's visited before or something. But to me, I would have been like, oh my goodness, Gloria, you did a great job on this.
And like a little nerve-wracking, like you don't want to mess it up. You're like,
exactly.
I mean, this coffee too was part of the experience that we shared, which they served in like a nice little wine glass.
That is nice.
It was a good vibe.
Love a good wine glass.
Well, I feel like I was there from you guys.
Yeah. Oh, just wait. If you haven't downloaded on all the photos yet,
there's a lot more. There's a whole video from that I didn't edit yet.
Yeah.
But I slowly but surely.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Slowly. Did you watch the trailer I made?
I did.
What did you think about the trailer?
That's pretty sweet.
Okay, cool. Let's see how
I just showed it to Casey this morning too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a vibe, man.
I did choose personal songs. I will say the music may need to adjust. It's from my playlist.
There was some heartstrings though. The music fit the.
That's the same artist where Carbon's name came from.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, we're gonna get into that. Actually, that's a good segue.
Get into it.
Yeah, my first question that I wanted to ask you all, because when you go to Carbon's website, there's no About Us page.
Not really. No.
Yeah, so I want to know if there was an About Us page, what would it say?
What would it say? How would you?
I think it'd be very team focused, because that's what we pride ourselves on team. And you'd be able to see each one of us, but also like where we started and who we are and what we love to do. Yeah.
I think it's the situation is the cobbler's son has no shoes. We tell everybody else's story, but do a bad job at telling our own.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why we can go to the website. You don't see it yet, but we're working on it. I think the best description would be we're a group of creatives and storytellers. Mind you, I don't love using that word because it's kind of like cliche, but bottom line, that's what it is. If it's for a construction company or if it's for a coffee company, we're telling a story of what they're doing. And so we partner with these companies to be their creative storytellers, help highlight the value that they have that they may not see, how to be able to share, staying up on what's relevant, on the different methods of being able to even share that. There is like a one-word paragraph we have in one of our proposals that talk about how we capture from the nonprofit to a world governing entity. And just tangible example of that is the Boys and Girls Club down the street we shoot for every year. But then we also do projects with the United Nations, which is literally a world governing entity. So it's been really cool over the last 10 years to take, different things we've learned from working on a more local level to the clients that we've been able to get on the international level. So I don't know if there's one clean way to describe us, but
you did really good just now.
The method is photo video.
That would almost fit an elevator pitch. Like I'd almost get that whole thing riding up to the
big elevator
10th floor with you. I don't know.
If I was in an elevator, I would just say we create content, the stuff you see on Instagram. That's like the best.
Definitely not cookie
that
cutter.
sells it short though.
Yeah.
Well, what's good about, I think, the way that we try to communicate who we are is the people who get it. And then those who don't, it's perfectly fine. Because I will say we're not an agency or a group of people that everybody needs to work with.
Exactly.
Even as we talk about this hustle culture, go back to when Carbon first started.
That was hustle culture.
We were like, we're going to go big. We're going to go massive. We're going to get 100 people on the team. All this stuff versus, I don't know, now, time.
Yeah, I think, and now we're more invested in the story and in the people. So it's not even for us at this point. I feel like it's for the bigger picture and what we want to leave and how we want to impact people. Most of the time we're working, people are looking at us and it's like, I think we're just doing what we love. I hate the word hustle.
But I think it's because though all of the bad connotations that have came to it.
Yeah.
I think that there's a newer way to kind of reinvent what hustle culture has to be. I don't know if you guys follow Gary Vee at all, but I remember early on, even when I'd see him on social, we would take what he was saying and be like, oh, that means you have to just go crazy hard. But if you actually listen to what Gary talks about sometimes, he's more of like, when you're hustling, have empathy and like making sure that it's a more holistic approach to hustle and building a business and building a company. So, but again, it's just stuff you learn along the way. I think the hustle aspect, that mentality is what got us interested or got me interested.
But it's not what kept us.
But yeah, it's not what
keeps us.
And then you kind of like learn what you enjoy. I like to describe Carbon almost as like a bonsai. We have all of the same DNA as like a massive tree. we could become a massive agency, but we're choosing to like prune and trim in certain areas to have its own little ecosystem. We have a few bonsais at the office, and one of them have this little like roly-poly and spider that just like living in there. I don't know where they're getting their food from, because I'm not watering it enough. It's not outside. It's supposed to be outside, but I just want to see it inside. But it's its own little ecosystem, and it does what it needs to do and provides value for those that it needs to provide value for. So I even look at Carbon as that now. We've had times when our team was 15 people at a weekly team meeting, and it was fun. I mean, we definitely enjoyed like bringing snacks, and it was a lot of emotions and personalities, but we've been consistently our 6 right now for the last like 2 years, which has been cool. And we've just continued to try to get better. A lot of it is me trying to grow as a leader. I know that all of my weaknesses are going to show up inside of the company a lot, and so I have to work harder at those to make sure that we have those mitigated and that they're not going to be as big of a risk. But it's been fun, I will say.
That's wild. So I guess I have it's a somewhat of like a 2-part question to build off of that, because I'm curious to learn more about like that term hustle and why you don't like it, and maybe what else you would call this. And then as an outsider, a fan of your guys' work, and then being able to see your work with Madcap, like from my perspective, I'm like, y'all are getting after it. You're in, Brooklyn one day, Tokyo the next, El Salvador the next. And like in my mind, I'm like, how do they stay sane?
Yeah.
Like
he's saying you hustle.
You hustle. So I would love it.
Layah hates that.
Yeah.
Can I? This is going to feed your fire,
Okay.
and then you guys can answer. But I wrote down the definition of hustle culture, and this is going to, I think, compliment support your disdain for the term. So, hustle culture is a mindset that emphasizes working hard and constantly striving for success, often at the expense of personal well-being, work-life balance, with the underlying belief that success is directly proportional to the amount of effort put in.
Yes, I agree with that. And I think hustle, my feelings toward hustle is kind of what Erik said, what I see people's other definitions of hustle is. And I'm like, that's not my hustle. Like what you're doing, that's not my hustle. But also, I think people have put that on us as like a negative thing. Like, like you're always doing this, or like when do you sit still? And I think they base that off of what the limited small amount they see on social, or whatever they're privy to. And so it's definitely has. But I like that definition though. Like you said, at the expense of, there's a lot of things that we sacrifice personally to. Erik always says we're not saving lives, but I do think the work that we're doing is important, and also it's going to live on for long after we're here. And so what kind of energy are we putting into that, and what kind of effort are we putting into that, so that our grandchildren might see this in their history books, or they're watching this video in class about coffee in college and Madcap is being highlighted. So I kind of like that definition.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like all the connotations that come along with it, but it's however people want to take that concept. I actually used to be on a podcast called The Garage Hustle. It's still out there on YouTube. And yeah, we talked about hustle a lot. I think I've got a lot of answers to some of those questions. Yeah. One being, you asked how we do all the things. Believe it or not, there are people out there that we probably mutually know who are traveling and doing a lot more even than we do. We just happen to actually take a picture and post it. Because I've learned that along the way, like a lot of people, even some of the most skilled individuals at things just aren't even sharing what they do, whether that be self-consciousness, whether that be imposter syndrome, whether that be they just don't think about it. Like they're just not sharing what is actually going on. So it's interesting because on social media, it can look like we're doing all these crazy things that, don't get me wrong, I know like Delta Platinum last year, which was really exciting. Like I know there has been a lot of travel, which I enjoy. But I know I've been on the plane with people who are like, I fly to DC
they're taking
every day.
They're just wearing the outfit. They're not even bringing it.
They're coming right back right after out of Grand Rapids. Like individuals who are engineers. One of my friends who's a DJ is just coming back from DC. I like saw a story before he came in. He goes every week for his job. So he just never shares it as often. Like I think that was my first time seeing him post it. I only knew about it because I saw him in person.
And also we have a kid. I think that's another
Yeah, that's another
little
thing that
surprise
people
in
will be
there
like,
that
oh, wow.
throws people off too.
Yeah, but we are willing. We knew from early on that we were going to bring him with us. We knew that we could build our life around what we value. For example, we had a project in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts and was really excited to capture it, but we didn't want to be gone from Enzo that long. So we brought along a friend who during the shoot day was able to watch him. And then afterwards we were able to be right there with him. So then there's really nothing that we were, missing because we were with Enzo right after we were done shooting.
I mean, I feel like you got to, because Enzo's got his own Instagram.
Exactly. He's got his own IG.
Yeah, he
it's
does.
private, so we have to accept the followers. But
it's monitored.
He's got his own IG.
Yeah.
He I don't know if you guys saw the other day on my story, but he picks up the camera and will shoot at shoots. I brought him to one I was doing a couple days ago, and he was like, "Where's my camera? Like, I want to shoot." So he really does enjoy it, which is cool. We'll see, if that muscle memory kicks in when he's older, or he might flip and not even like content at all. Decide he doesn't want to download TikTok.
He's very similar to Erik though, to where whatever sparks an interest, he's going to pursue that and learn as much as he can about it and master it. And then maybe in a week or so it's something else. But like, it's funny to hear him talk about the bonsai, because 3 years ago that was not a thing, but he kind of engulfed himself in that bonsai world. So,
and Enzo does the same with cars. He makes sure he watched every episode of Mater, and then we watch every single Cars over and over again.
That's awesome.
Wait, and he's what, almost 3?
3, yeah. You guys have the same birthday too.
Same birthday.
Yeah. That's my guy.
He's 3. He'll be 4 later this year.
Yes, I will say too, when we had him and we were kind of getting back into the work, I think it was in December. Also, there was like a COVID spike or something, because I remember things were a little
COVID
quieter.
Delta, I think Delta.
Yeah. But I think it was like February 1st was like the first time I went back to a meeting that I had to go to or anything. And I don't know, the love that we just got from clients. I remember you guys had a bag for us that was literally like, congrats. It got dropped off to our house, which was really awesome. Kent Companies was another larger client we were doing stuff with at the time. And they gave us a whole onesie that had like his logo on it. And then Goodnight Construction Job Site.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just really cool to see that type of like love and support from again, the like work we do and who we do it for, and then just like caring about this major milestone that happened. Where if you go again, the hustle culture, the way that it's marketed, I feel like those don't merge. Like it isn't client supporting the fact that you just had a child. I remember one of our shoots early on,
transactional.
Yeah, Trisha from Custer was like, "You have to bring Enzo to this photo shoot." I'm like, "It's a headshot shoot. I don't think I can." She's like, "You have to." And so sure enough, we brought him and she's playing with Enzo while we're shooting these headshots. And like, I don't know, that type of like reassurance. And it's not for every industry. I know it's not for everyone, but for like what we're building, our little bonsai, like it's cool to be able to have that for us. And then also our team members being able to receive that type of thing. So but also we have values that everything kind of falls into. We got values that we pursue everything around. And then I've got these 6 areas that I'm like, I want to see everybody see success in those areas. And it's like money, it's community, it's spiritually, communication. I can't remember them all without having my big board in front of me. But those things we like center around. It's like, while you're here at Carbon, I want you to be able to grow in these areas. And it's like taking pride in where you're working and who you're impacting outside of just the money that you're making. And then also, like I said, the freedom that people may need to be able to do whatever they want to do. Now, again, it's unique for each company, but I think anybody who's building a business or building something with a group of people and says, I want them to have their goals and stuff be accomplished through this like avenue, I don't know. I think you're building something healthy, especially if it's making impact. Because if all you do is make money, you're not really doing anything. So.
And sorry,
no,
I can't help but mention, like, it's our calling. It's our purpose. That's how we can do it. Like, there's some days I'm looking back, I'm like, I don't even know how I got through that day. But I think when it's what you were called to do and what you were placed on the earth to do, I think you have a grace for it in any season. So I definitely attribute that to being a part of our purpose and calling.
Well, that's a good segue. Can you talk about like what was the inspiration for Carbon? Like, how did y'all get there? How did you decide, you know what, we are going to do life together, and that means we're going to work together too?
Yeah.
Carbon.
It's funny. It's been like a thing we've been thinking about lately. I don't know where the merge happened. I went to Grand Valley for criminal justice and juvenile justice. So it's kind of like my origin story. I was always creative. Like, I'm from Detroit, but I think environment and exposure was very minimal. And so I had all these things. Like, if you saw my room growing up, it was creative things. Like, I was always drawing. I always had concepts in my mind. I was always piecing things together, but I just wrote it off as that because I didn't see the potential it had. So it was either go to the Army or pick a college. Never toured Grand Valley, none of that. And I was like, I'm just going to go here. I got to get out of this space. First college graduate. And so I knew that was something I wanted to do for my family generation. And so I was like, I really am interested in criminal justice. And I know at the end of the day, I want to do law enforcement. So I was like, criminal justice.
She's going to be a police officer.
Yeah, I wanted to do.
So we would have crossed paths. Like, you would have pulled me over for speeding or something.
The police has been at Carvin for multiple reasons.
Yeah, you definitely would have been at Carvin for sure.
But I don't even know.
Film and drive at the same time.
Well, they literally held up a whole base there a couple months ago. We had Grant.
It was like
sent us a photo.
SWAT trucks and stuff.
Yeah, he like texted me and was like, "What's going on at Carvin?" I'm like, I have no clue.
Just a stakeout.
It was
so.
basically
they used it as
something
like
down the street.
Yeah, like a meetup spot.
Yeah, but very militarized. I mean, 30 trucks all on the sides and everything.
I feel like if you were there, you'd be making coffee for them.
Yeah. Way to bring the community together, you guys.
Potentially. Like, can I hold your cup?
Yeah.
No.
That is hilarious.
Because they have walkie-talkie.
Photos.
They
Can I
had
like
everything.
capture
They had
anything
the
you need me
whole-
to capture?
I wonder if it's going to be in that episode that they're releasing of the Grand Rapids
Who
Police.
knows? Maybe.
Because they followed.
That'd be good for Carvin.
It would be really good. It would be really good. So you were going to be a cop.
Yeah, you were going to be a cop.
So then I came to Grand Rapids, met Erik in 2014, and I was like, oh, he was doing photos at that time. And also, I feel like you were like designing simple things. And then we kind of got involved in church, and I was like, oh. And I kind of got exposed to, fun fact, I started off doing like shirt and like flyer designs for like local stuff and people. And then slowly.
As side hustle?
Well, it was not necessarily side hustle.
business.
It was taking things that I'd already done, but like to the next level. Like, it's not just pencil and paper at this point. It's like, okay, let's do this in Illustrator. And so then I think it was like just diving deeper into that and allowing my creativity to expand in that. And then slowly like being exposed to all these things in this community. And eventually it led to, I remember just being like, I really see myself doing this. I'm still passionate about criminal justice. And we can talk about that later, but it's part of the reason why we started our nonprofit, Savvy. But I was able to kind of see where I fit in the creative community. And that's kind of how it happened. And Erik had started Carvin in 2015.
Yes.
And so I was still around. I was still doing things, but I just was like, I don't know, like still filling it out. We were still kids, 19?
Yeah.
19 years old. So I think I was still figuring it out and what our life looked like. And we had just started dating. So eventually I was like, okay, this is for me. So it led to like product styling, model styling, being in front of the camera, and then taking photos and video. So that's kind of how that happened. And I think we worked well together. So it wasn't even a thought that crossed our minds. It wasn't like, should I do this or should I not? It was just like, let's do this. Like, this is going well. Why not?
And I remember the some of my first projects, she was reaping the benefits. We like finished a photo shoot, graphic design website thing. Got a check for like $600. Went and spent $100 at this breakfast spot, and I'm like,
this
let's
is great.
do more of this.
Let's
like,
keep it going.
You're an actual designer. I like play around with designing. Like,
and
let's
even just
do
exposure.
this.
Like seeing my first trip was to South Africa.
Yeah.
Being in the DeVos's kitchen with their chef, just exposure.
Yeah.
To more stuff that we had to do content wise. But on what actually brought Carvin to start.
But you were a solo project then originally.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So going back to 2015, 2014, I was doing a lot of photo video work for people. It'd be random stuff from church, stuff from school, senior photos. People were paying me in McDonald's gift cards after I finished everything. It was frustrating because I was more of a Wendy's kind of guy, number one. But then also, I'm sorry, but that is the way I describe it every time.
I've heard this maybe 1,000 times. That's why it's so funny.
If you go to hashtag Wendy's kind of guy on Instagram, you'll see like photos of me speaking in classes, and like I was gonna use it as the hashtag. In my PowerPoint presentation, there's
It's
a
a
photo
picture.
of me at Wendy's. I'll show it to you guys later. Because I used to work at Wendy's.
We need to scrap the gift cards we were going to give them. Make sure they're Wendy's.
Throw the
Yeah, take those McDonald's ones.
That's hilarious.
I want a Frosty instead of McFlurry. But legit, like there 100% was the time I got a McDonald's gift card for something that I worked really hard at. But I realized that was me not respecting my craft. It was something I just kind of looked at as on the side. I just never really thought of it actually as like running a business. Now, pinning the story for how Carbon started, going back to Erik Layah in general, I've always been interested and passionate about business and like groups of things. I remember I was in like 3rd grade. I printed out these little spy name tags and like tried to make like a spy group come together when we were at Maracaibo Shores was the name of our neighborhood. Then I had like a newspaper for the neighborhood. We only did 4 issues of it, but like we had local business owners actually pay money to have their business cards in it. So I would like scan the business cards and everything. So I always was interested in business. I did a lemonade stand, but I spelled lemonade wrong. I mean, I spelled it as Leo Menad. And so to this day, people will like make fun of me for it and such.
I think it's great. I think he's going to one day write a book called Leo Menad.
Leo Menad.
On
That'd
business.
be cool. But then also long care, which is very tangible.
He had to fire a couple people.
I had to fire some, my brothers because they weren't necessarily sticking to what they said they do to help out. But always interested in business. But again, by the time I was at GRCC, I didn't think I was going to continue in it. I just, like I said, was kind of doing it on the side. But as me and a couple other friends were kind of trying to come up with like what was fun, we watched The Social Network, the movie, a lot. We were like, we're going to come up with the next social media. We just knew we wanted to do something really fun together. So I was like, guys, let's start this business. One of them was a photographer and videographer as well. Some of the other ones, like Vincent, he'd been interested in business, but he hadn't started Irie yet. He hadn't really done anything else. And I was just like,
culinary school.
He was in culinary school.
Come later?
He was still in school, and I was like, you speak really well. Let's have you come on and be our marketing director. And sure enough, like that value he brought to the team. Like I remember our first meeting, he walked across the hall, handed our business card to somebody. And I remember freaking out, like the website's not up yet. Plot twist, the website's still not up. We didn't have the info page, still don't. But he, that boldness like really helped. So as the smaller team, I think when we first started, it was maybe 8 of us that I came together with. I'm like, guys, let's see if we end up doing any work together. Hopefully we'll get some weddings or senior photos. And our first project was a project with Spectrum Health that really helped change our perspective. I remember we were like going to charge them $600, but the project manager, his name was Rick Harlow at Visual Hero. He was like, no, you have to charge $3,000 because otherwise we won't even respect you as a company. So like along the way, things we learned. Oh, I used to call myself the CEO of Carbon Stories. And then I remember Rick was like, why do you call it CEO? I'm like, that's just what I thought the person who runs it is. He's like, no, go do some research on the different names and things. So even before it was like a cool, trendy thing to be creative director, I learned that was the responsibility and role that I wanted to kind of develop. And so, yeah, that first summer, I mean, we were working out at every coffee shop in the city, Lion Street, Mayan Buzz, Madcap.
His dad's church.
Yeah, my dad's church. We were everywhere. And then we got our building in December of 2016 because Vincent was looking for a restaurant. His realtor took him there and he was like, no, this would be good for Carbon Stories. And so it was cool because that took us to our next place, like a lot more responsibility, actually having rent that we had to worry about every month versus just the, $5 cup of coffee that we had to worry about for a place to work out of. And then like that just came with a lot of stuff too. You gotta, we
had a dog also.
We got a dog in the office. There's a dog that was in there at some point. But you have to shovel the sidewalk. Otherwise, you'll get a fine from the city, like just different things we like learned along the way. Yeah. But yeah, the building really became a part of us as like a home base for events and actual shooting and meeting with client, that type of thing. But yeah, that's kind of the beginning of it. And then what's kind of happened to where we are now.
10 years later.
Yeah.
For you, where does that mindset come from where you're like locked in to hear someone's feedback and to be able to take that and learn from it? Like
I'm still working on it.
Like, yeah, was that modeled for you somewhere? Did you read about this? Is this just like
from outside looking in? I think Erik's experience came from his family. He's his brothers, and so I think just naturally they're critical, and you learn to like take the meat and spit out the bones. But you can talk more on that. I'm still learning that part.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at Eric Thomas as another person that I watch. I don't have one specific mentor at all, but on YouTube, there's a lot of good, like Simon Sinek. He talks about leadership, and Eric Thomas, a good motivational speaker, Gary Vee. One of the things he talks about is if you're not where you want to be, clearly what you're doing is not working. So one reason why I'll take feedback and listen to what people are suggesting is because if I don't have what I would like to have, or things aren't set up the way I have, clearly I don't have the tools yet. So I've got to keep learning and taking feedback. Now, like she said, eat the meat and spit out the bones. I don't even know if I've heard that outside of my family. That's a very much like, we talk about that all the time, especially the way we'll like cut into each other about things sometimes. It's like, okay, just take the pack that I said save 2 months worth of bills, not that I said you broke and you ain't got
You
nothing.
suck.
It's none of that. Just take the part that's like, hey, you should save some money. So very much like ingrained in me to do that, but still learning. Like the biggest thing is still trying to figure it out along the way and want to, also realize that we're in a space of something that is a little different. While there's other companies that produce similar content to what we do, or like structurally they're the same, no one's really doing what we're doing in this way because it's just different. It's just very different for us. And like, again, I think our clients recognize that, but knowing that means that like I have to, take in a lot of information, feedback, that type of thing.
Well, I'll lean into that. Just talk to you all about hustle some more. I think, even as a business owner myself, I think there's, when we read that definition, there's like those negative connotations woven in that definition of hustle culture. But I think there's also, because there's a negative connotation to sacrifice. And I think looking back on myself and things that I have sacrificed, I think there are some things that I regret where, especially watching y'all and how you're including Enzo, your son Enzo, in what y'all are doing is pretty inspirational, I think, as a parent whose kids are halfway out the door now at this point in my life. But there are moments where I definitely see myself having prioritized my work and stuff too much, and not including my family or being as involved as I would have liked. And so, but I think to a great extent, I wouldn't have been able to accomplish or respect what I was doing or be proud of what I was doing if there weren't sacrifices made along the way, right? And so I think there's, from the hustle perspective, like I do think sacrifice is required. I think any entrepreneur who builds something that, however you define success for yourself, is achieved, you are going to sacrifice some things.
Correct.
And so, just, from you all's perspective, like, so you're 10 years in, you have a new young growing family. Like, how are you feeling? Like, do you have things you've sacrificed already that you regret sacrificing?
I don't think we have any regrets, but I think we sometimes have moments of like, I wish this was different. I think one of the areas is probably people we choose to have around us consistently. We just have to be more choosy in that, because we do have a lot to lose and because we do care about our moral compass and like how, we're perceived. And so I think on the friendship side and just who we choose to consistently be around, we have to be more cognizant of that. We can't go out with everybody every weekend because that's just, I think we have a lot more to think about and to lose. And we're just careful. We have a lot of values that we uphold high, whether we talk about them or not. There are things that we hold high that we like to be reflected in relationships. And so I think that's important, that I think people don't really think about when they're building something, is who you have around you. So I think that's something that we don't regret, but there are times that I know I long for certain things, but I also have seen examples of people who have been in our same position where they're 40 and they're just now gaining certain relationships. And so I'm also patient in that. So that's one area.
Sacrificing friends, basically, like you almost not getting the opportunity to have like super close friends because you want to be particular. I do have a regret. And really? I think I'm realizing.
I know what it is.
I don't know what you would say it would be.
Okay, go ahead.
My regret. Go ahead. I want to hear what you thought, but
I know what you're going to say.
I regret having an A5 Wagyu steak.
Oh, gosh.
I will say, because if I never had one, I wouldn't be craving it. Like before, I could go to Wendy's, I could go to Brands, I could go to Applebee's. I could do it. Not at all. Now it's like Jin is like a normal. That's like average day. I mean, Enzo, ask him what he wants to eat for dinner. He'll say steak.
He said sushi before.
Yeah,
like at 1.5 years old.
Yeah, just like stuff that again, I just wish I waited to experience because now. That's my bottom line. Yeah. There's a hotel we went to in Paris. It was just
the greatest mashed potatoes.
The floors were heated. I mean, it was like. But if we would have just waited a little bit more, then now
we could have something to work towards.
Top tier, yeah. So overall,
this is what I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna say he wished he would have got married sooner.
Oh, that of course too. I mean, there were certain things for us, like we didn't move in with each other until we got married. Mm-hmm. And so there was a good 4 years where, I'm hanging out at Layah's house till like 1 a.m. Going home.
We're both at Carbon till 3.
We're at Carbon till 3, going home and then coming right back to her at 8 a.m. It's like just wasted hours there. So if there's a young couple out there, they know they want to get married, just get married. Just do it.
I think ours is very unique though. So
it's unique. This isn't advice.
That's a pro
we got a comment on there. Pro tip.
I think our situation is very
unique. If you know you're going to get married.
Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
If you're sure.
If you know for a fact. I was like, I got to wait till I graduate. Or have enough money. Like, money's this other thing that's like, I don't know. We've been able to make a good amount with what we've been able to provide for the world. But there's never been a point where I felt like the money affected, what we were doing, if that makes sense. But yeah, to go back to it, the genuine regret of what we have been able to experience is just hard to almost go backwards or times when projects might not be as big or whatever. That bottom line has became really high. So it's just hard to navigate that. But on the actual sacrifice side, I definitely agree with the fact that there are certain things you do have to then sacrifice. But if you're doing it for the right reasons and with the right people and with the right interests in mind, it doesn't really feel that way. We were talking about it yesterday, actually. The work that I do doesn't necessarily feel like work. I was vacuuming Carbon yesterday. Mind you, I don't think that every company can allow the person who's responsible for everything to also be vacuuming. But because of how small our office is and because it was probably me making the mess, it was fine for me to vacuum, and no part of me was like, I don't feel like doing this right now, because I'm like, we got these new floors from Custer and we're in a building, and 10 years ago we were just working out at the coffee shops.
Grateful.
Yeah, I don't know. So it doesn't even feel like work because it's so much of what I'm passionate about. And then again, everybody on the team doing what they're responsible for. So then it really does work together. But yeah, I think the sacrifice can be perceived differently, which then makes it not seem so dreadful. Yeah. But yeah, you zoom all the way out, somebody's like, okay, you guys are sacrificing friendships. We're not, we don't do major things for our birthdays, but that's just
us in person.
Yeah, we're just not huge things. Now, other areas that we're realizing that we may have wanted to put more focus on is in spaces like getting a house. We, being that, self-employed income, got a bookkeeper and a CPA now, but I remember times in the past we had houses come up as options that
we just didn't know.
Yeah, because I didn't put the right attention where it was supposed to go, when we were getting things in and allocating it the right way. So it's almost like we did sacrifice a little bit of knowing what we want, but it was also...
And things have changed over time. If you would have asked us when we first got married, when we wanted kids, I think we were 7 years.
Yeah, we said 30. We thought 30 for sure.
So of course we're not looking for a house.
Yeah.
We're content where we were, but I think as time goes on and your desires change.
I want a crib. I want to be able to
I was never an outside person, and now I want a yard. So
I mean, once you have a kid though, everything changes.
It does.
It really does. And we like our condo that we're in, which also makes it hard because it's we're not dreading to leave, but yeah, we do. That's a goal that we have in the next, I'd say, years, to find a house, which would be really cool. That we also know will then allow us to host more. We used to do game nights even at our current spot, but now it's we just want more space for things like that. So yeah, I think those are some of those areas where we've had to sacrifice, but it does feel like it's for a good purpose. And then, like I said, it's with people and it's bigger than just us. Any asset or thing that we've gotten the opportunity for, it's never just for Layah and I. I think that's another thing that the team realizes. While a lot of our client relationships are built off of specific things I may have done, it's able to benefit everybody. Alistair was in Paris in January. He loves high-end fashion. He was there shooting with Kid Super. That's a relationship that I've been building over the last 4 or 5 years since we got our apartment in New York. And like, it's been really great to be able to share those types of relationships where I think it even meant more to him because of how much he loves high-end fashion. He was meeting like people in the fashion space that I don't know at all. I'm just like, I like telling cool stories, and Kid Super is one of those. So it's been great to, again, receive opportunities and such that based off of the sacrifice that we've been able to share with